I would seem you're even more innocent than you look. But you figured it all out by now, haven't you? No, 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 let go of me. Stop this. Hello and welcome. I am Ash Mannix, and this is the house in Fata Morgana. In the last part of the playthrough, we saw what was the real supposed story between Giselle and Michelle. And it was, there was bickering, well not bickering, but there was fights, and Michelle got kind of a little bit physical with Giselle to try and get information out of her. Both of them are clearly hiding some sort of secrets that they're not willing to admit to each other, and Giselle's clearly not happy with her predicament, and you can hear her kind of like bemoan her position in life, and Michelle is more of an arse, really. Like, he's just like, and extremely cynical. He's like, because you're seeing things from his point of view now as well, where he's just like, she's clearly after something. People are always hiding things beneath a facade, and he's not wrong, but it's a very much more cynical point of view than what we were shown before. And I'm beginning to understand why they were talking about how it was a much more romanticized version, because it really was. So, let us get back into things. Inspect my memories. This is the most recent one, Encaged. So, let's jump into this. I'll switch to the no avatar screen. I will say that Michelle, where we left off, Michelle had gone to visit there's a person that lives in the grounds in some hut. I say a hut, it's not a hut, it's like a stone house thing, who is the person who drops off the food. But they are also there to keep an eye on Michelle and to make sure that Michelle doesn't escape the mansion, which is quite worrying, frankly. And we've been given hints that he's being kept there to hide hide him, because in some ways he's some sort of an embarrassment to the family. And I don't know if embarrassment's the right word. It would ruin the family's reputation if people knew of his existence, is the vibe I am getting. So, let's get into this then, shall we? My mother's response arrived just 10 days later. Ah yes, he had sent a letter to his mother. That's why he went to visit that guy. He asked him to send a letter to his mother, where he was going to try and get information about Giselle from his mother. So, let's see what came back, shall we? My mother's response arrived just 10 days later. Oh. The delivery boy must have pushed his horse quite hard. It was almost exactly a month after Giselle had moved in. And shortly thereafter, on a bone-chilling night, everything came crashing down. The rift between us grew deeper, and the wall between us impossibly high. When I lay bare the scars in her chest and mercilessly plunged my knife into them. Oof. Oof. How did we get to this point? Ugh, I hate everything. My spirits were getting darker and darker, like they were slowly sinking into a deep morass. I had been at the mansion for a month, and every day since felt twice as long as it should have. I'd been optimistic at first. I'd even had a little hope that me and Michelle could get along together, but it hadn't taken long for that hope to be shattered, and the cheer locked away inside me. We lived in the same house, but we never spoke anymore. On the few occasions we did cross paths, he just gave me a cold glare and nothing more. Scorn and suspicion in his eyes. Whenever he looked at me like that, I felt as though my throat was being constricted, like I was deep underwater and running out of air. Like my very presence in the world was a crime. I never could have imagined just how agonizing constant rejection was. I started despising others. Others, there's only him. Despising myself. Despising the world. Convinced there was no one who could set me free. I considered running away from everything, rather than live like this another day. But I would have done so long ago if that were actually an option. If they found out I had fled, that I had acted outside their wishes, my mum and sister would pay. I had succeeded in allowing my sister to get married and my mum to live comfortably. I had given them happiness. I couldn't take that away from them again. Not after what I had to go through to do it. Wait. Oof. No, cut that out. Getting way too depressing, Giselle. Pull yourself together. That's not who you are. Be positive. The negativity didn't only come from my interactions with Michelle either. No, there seemed to be some kind of terrible presence within the mansion that twisted people's hearts. The mansion was, in fact, a bit of a local legend, which I had been informed about before being sent here. People claimed it was cursed, and that an evil witch had lived in it for many, many years. Michelle joked that he was the witch, but I didn't believe him. I'm not usually one to believe in magic or curses at all, but being here so long, I can't help but wonder. Anyway, things can't go on like this. If I was to remain in this house, the situation needed to improve. A lot. I was going to lose my mind if things kept up as they were. I was ready to give up once, but I'm going to try closing the distance between us again. If I could get him to open up even the tiniest bit, then maybe that would make living here a little easier. I wasn't going to try to make us best friends or anything. Just repair a relationship enough that being around each other wasn't torturous. I've got my work cut out for me. How do I even begin that conversation? Heck, what is that conversation even going to be about? Maybe I should hold off to another day. No, I've made up my mind to do this, so I should get to it quickly. The longer I wait, the worse things are going to get. And eventually, there won't be any fixing anything. We need to talk. We need to be in the same room for more than 10 seconds, and we need to get to know each other. He needs to know that he's not the reason I have something to hide. Okay. Let's do this. Oof, good luck. I made my way to Michelle's chambers, which she had told me to stay away from. My stride was slow and ponderous, but at the very least I did my best to keep some semblance of a smile on my face. This one time where I'd really like to have someone to give me a little nudge. Breathe in, breathe out. Okay. Pardon, Master. There's something I'd like to talk to you about. Master? I guess he's not here. The door wasn't locked. As was the rest of the house, his room was shrouded in darkness. The only light came from the candle in my hand. Master? Are you there, Master? I guess I missed him. It's probably best if I don't stick around for long. He's already got a less than stellar impression of me. Don't want to imagine what will happen if he thinks I've been snooping through his room. Yeah, I should get out of here. I spun around on my heels, taking a step toward the door, when I caught sight of an object draped in a black sheet. I knew I had to get out of there as quickly as possible, but I was intrigued by that object. Something he kept hidden in a room I was forbidden to enter. Maybe it was a clue to discovering Michelle's secrets. I reached my hand down toward the object, knowing good and well I shouldn't. Was it because I wanted to learn more about him? Was it because I wanted to tear down the veil he hid behind? Or was it the whispers of the witch? Ooh. What do we have here? I pulled off the sheet, revealing a framed painting of what appeared to be a noblewoman with porcelain white skin. What stood out about her, though, was that the woman's hair was as pale as her skin. And then... What? I noticed something else. White gashes ravaged the canvas. Oh, is that what that was? I just thought she had some like weird eye patch on. So he's gashed the eye and the neck, damaging her face beyond repair. What the? I imagine it had once been a painting of a beautiful woman, but there was hardly a trace of that left. The only feeling inspired anymore was a deep chill. This damage was not accidental, it was deliberate, angry, and the contempt emanating from within the frame was stifling. Thick, suffocating blackness seeped into me. Why would anyone? She was surely a most beautiful woman, angelic even. A storm of questions assaulted me. Who was she? Why had her face been carved up? Why had the painting been covered? This person looks a bit like Michelle. Could it be his sister? Or could it be Michelle? What happened? Who could have... There's only one person who could have done this. Michelle. Why on earth? You saw it, didn't you? You saw the painting, didn't you? You entered my room without permission, and you saw the painting, didn't you? Angelic, you say? There's nothing angelic about that damned woman. I scrambled to make some excuse, but nothing would come out of my mouth. All I could do was tremble. Ooh, oh shit. Look at that. Fucking hell. Why did you enter my chambers? Where did you get a fucking knife from? What were you looking for? Look at his eyes. His eyes are red. Have they always been red? Answer me. My mouth wouldn't move properly. I couldn't make my voice come out. It was like I wasn't even in my own body anymore. The wisps of air that were drawn into my lungs were expelled as hoarse gasps. My breaths were shallow and rapid. I was inhaling, but I wasn't getting any air. I was terrified. 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 Of his eye. Wait, what? Shit, it's Giselle. Of his eyes, of his voice, of his feelings, of the knife he was holding up to me, of the terrible past I was chained to, the man's voice, the man's very flesh, terrified me. What were you trying to find, and what were you planning to do with it? Answer me. Another thing you refuse to tell me then? No, I'm tripping. Nothing's coming out of my mouth though. Everything's so bright, and I can't catch my breath. I can't breathe. That's fine though. You don't have to tell me. I have a pretty good idea. An idea? What do you mean? Money is what brought you to the Bullinger estate, and it's what brought you to me too. There are countless people who would love to see that house fall, and a noble family fears nothing more than disrepute. You were, I presume, approached by someone scheming the Bollingers' downfall. No. And as it would just so happens, the Bollingers have a very unfortunate secret, one they are quite desperate to keep under wraps. Me. Someone suspected I might still be alive, so they sent you to dig up information about me. My very existence threatens to tear down that house, the cursed youngest son of the Bollinger family. Michelle, who made a pact with the devil, is it his eyes? Who is supposed to be dead, but is very much alive. You sweet-talked your way into that house, and into information about me and my present situation, and you meant to trade that information for money. I bet whoever it was put quite a handsome price on it, too. Or maybe the one plotting to ruin the Bollinger family is you. No, that's not true. Then enlighten me. Please, hear me out. I didn't know anything about you. I wasn't sniffing around or trying to bring you harm in any way. Then tell me, if that's not the reason you wormed your way into the Bollinger estate, and that's not what you're doing here, then tell me what is. Tell me why you came to this mansion. You want me to tell you about that? No way, that's asking way too much. Tell me. I mean, it's not... I get that this is probably a really important secret and she really doesn't want to talk about it. He's threatening you with a knife, though. I mean, is it something worth getting killed for? I swear, I haven't done anything to wrong you. I simply wanted to make our life together a little more comfortable, to bring some warmth to this frigid relationship we have. That's the only reason I wanted to find out more about you. I must assume I'm right then, Giselle. I must tell him he's wrong. I must tell him I mean him no harm. But I can't say anything. A merchant's daughter became an Abigail at a noble house. Could you come up with a more obvious lie? Your father's the one who... Wait. How does he know that I'm from a merchant's family? You look perplexed. I may be imprisoned in this house, not free to move about as I please, but I have my ways. I know everything. Everything? Then he knows about that too. Oh yes, I do know. Please, don't. In your quest for money, don't say it. I knew it. Slept with my father. In that moment, Michel plunged his knife into my heart. Wow! He carved through my chest with those words, causing me to completely lose control of myself. In a panicked frenzy, and probably screaming all the way, I knocked the man aside, and ran and ran and ran. I could hear a clap of thunder in the distance. Oh, how I wished a bolt of lightning would come crashing down upon me. Maybe if God burned my tainted flesh with a divine thunderbolt, it would get rid of some of the filth. But the jagged streaks of light cascading across the dark clouds did not strike me, only creating restless grumbles in the sky. Why? I knew that if I fled that mansion, I would likely be causing trouble for my mum and sister. But I was helpless to stop myself. All I could do was run from all that threatening me with no regard for the consequences. Before long, small droplets of rain began falling, which soon grew heavy enough to penetrate the forest canopy and reach the ground where I stood. The downpour drowned out my tears and my cries. Because I had rushed from the mansion without even putting on a cloak, each cold winter droplet stung bitterly against my flesh. But the bite of the rain was like a warm embrace compared to what I'd been through before. Michel had spoken the truth. As much as I wanted to deny it, to avert my eyes, reality was forever engraved in this body. No, I don't want to think about it. But I had no say in the matter. Get out of my head! Antonin, come over here, Giselle. Okay, may I ask why you asked me here so late at night, Master? Oh, I just want to have a little chat. Care for some wine? Come closer, I'll pour you a glass. I had this wine imported from up north. They use very hard water and like it rather tart, so it leaves quite the lasting impression on your tongue. And yet, it goes down so easily, you just can't seem to stop. What do you say? Have a sip? Or does your expertise as a trader allow you to evaluate a wine's quality without tasting it? No, but, please, Giselle, don't trample all over my good graces. Very well, then. I will have a sip, Master, but no more. Have you ever considered growing out your hair? Having long hair made it difficult to do my job. You're not a merchant anymore, though. You deserve to look like the woman you truly are. I have no doubt longer hair would accentuate your natural beauty. It's a gorgeous shade of black, so deep a man could get lost in it for years. Hey. It would contrast the colour of your skin fabulously. Highlight your eyes, your cheekbones, your nape, your shoulders, and your chest. I should get going. Oh, but we're not done talking yet. I would not want a lack of sleep to interfere with my ability to work tomorrow. Thank you very much for the wine. It was delicious. No need to be so cold-hearted now. From the moment I first laid eyes on you. Master, that's enough fooling around for one night. Now, don't be afraid. I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. I simply want to express my love. Oh, let go of me. I only came here to work, nothing more. The first time I saw you, I thought it would be a tragic waste to leave you to wither away working at some little street-side shop. She was only asked to work for them because he wanted to. That's why they asked for a thingy's daughter instead of a noble's daughter. Stop! You can't tell me you didn't know a merchant girl had no place in a house like this, even as a servant. There's only one reason you would be allowed here. No, I swear, it never even crossed my mind. It would seem you're even more innocent than you look. But you've figured it all out by now, haven't you? No, let go of me. Stop this. Keep your voice down. Eh? Do not shout, Giselle. If anyone were to find out about this, you'd be the one shouldering the consequences, not me. What a fucking asshole. But you're a maid, and I'm the master of the house. Whose word do you think holds more weight? Don't worry. I won't do anything to hurt you. I promise your family will be exceptionally well taken care of. Your mother will have the comfortable life you wanted for her, but you know what will happen if you raise a fuss and make a fool of yourself. Not only will your family not get any of our money, and not only will your sister not get to marry, you'll all spend the rest of your lives on the streets. What an asshole. How could you be so cruel? This is blackmail. Blackmail? For a merchant's daughter, you don't know much about trade, do you? Then let me give you a little lesson about market value. The goods you're after, Giselle, are not cheap. Understand? Now, let me see that beautiful body of yours. He was an older man, so I hadn't expected him to be very strong. But I couldn't break free of his grip, and I found myself entirely at his mercy. Beneath the gaudy outfits lay a hungry beast, and I was seeing the creature's true colours for the first time that day. The aging man ran his disgusting slobby tongue across my exposed skin. Everything he placed his hands upon withered away. Every piece of flesh he pressed his lips against putrefied, rotted, decayed, rankled. I trembled in revulsion, at which the man laughed, seemingly interpreting it as something else. I wondered what kind of place hell was. If hell's wardens only flayed and carved their prisoners, I would have preferred that instead. I would have rather been sliced into tiny little chunks and cast into the hellfire. I would have chosen eternal torment over being touched by this man another second. But I didn't get to choose my hell. Eventually the man forced open the gates I had been holding fast, and spread his festering death inside me. Listen to me, Giselle. It is in both of our best interests to keep this between the two of us. If you can do that, I'll continue to do good by you and your family. Oh, don't look at me like that, please. I'm thrilled to have you here in this house, Giselle. She has long since lost her mind, after all. What? It's torture just being in the same room. And my sons, they hardly ever come home. But you, Giselle, you give colour to my dull life. You make it exciting once again. Now go back to your room. I'll be waiting here at the same time next week. I couldn't escape from the man's grasp. Now when he used not when he used my family against me. Some weeks I would just go on to his chambers, my one feeble means of resistance. I would just not go to his chambers, my one feeble means of resistance. But when I did that, he would send another Abigail to come find me the next day. I couldn't ignore his summons when he got other people involved. And then, when the two of us were alone, the mask would come off. And he would discipline me for not showing up before taking care of his usual business. On good days, he would leave bruises in inconspicuous places, my abdomen, my inner thighs. But he went as far as carving... Oh, what the fuck, man? But he went as far as carving a word into my skin with a knife. Harlot. Wow. That was why I was afraid of knives. That was why I was afraid of men shouting. I wasn't even sure what to regret anymore. I was in far too deep. There was no turning back the clock. I even considered taking my own life on more than one occasion. But every time the thought crossed my mind, happy memories came with it. Back when it was just the three of us girls in the shop. Life may not have been easy, but it was never dull either. I didn't want to end my life at its absolute lowest point. I wanted, if just temporarily, to go back to the way things were back then. That objective was the only thing that allowed me to keep going. When I was in his presence, I tried to convince myself I was merely an object. I had no emotions, so he couldn't hurt me. I was merely a vessel. A construct of flesh and bones. His hands couldn't reach my heart, for it was not connected to my body. Doing that made it a little easier to bear. But the reality was, it was impossible to completely sever my heart from my body. You're Giselle, aren't you? One day, the mistress of the estate stopped me in the halls. She had, supposedly, once been quite beautiful, but now she was only haggard and bony. Her skin dry, her eyes sunken, her hair faded and stripped of its lustre, her head down, cracked lips barely moving as she spoke. Age didn't appear to be the only thing working its merciless magic on her either. There seemed to be something eating away at her from the inside too. Something that could burst at the lightest touch. Yes, I'm Giselle. Is there something I can do for you? The mistress rarely ever left her chambers. I had been told it had been years since she attended family supper. So what would bring her to come looking for someone like me? You... What? I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. You're having relations with my husband, aren't you? Oh, fuck. You are, aren't you? Madam. You wretched creature. She was telling me the truth. Wait, what? One of my trusty maids caught a glimpse of you through a crack in the door. She saw you with him, you filthy rat. You seduced my husband. You devil, you conniving witch. This is all beginning to make sense now. You don't get it, do you? You don't realize how grievous your sin is, do you? Anyone restrain this girl. She's a demon, a devil. Tie her up and hand her over to the clergy. No, that won't be enough. A witch, you have to burn her bones, scatter the ashes, or she'll come back to life. Yes, execute her, kill this woman, burn the witch, seize the pieces she's stolen from me. Cursed, it's cursed. This house is cursed. Not only has it taken away my daughter, now it's trying to take away my husband. Daughter? Oh God, please shine thy cleansing light upon this house. I knew it'd be a waste of breath trying to talk to her. She was not of sound mind. There was madness in her eyes. I didn't even have to make a fuss about it. It happened all on its own. If there was no way around it, then I should have just done it myself after the first time. I didn't have the energy to argue with her, or to cry, or to shout. Before long, a crowd began to form around me and the sobbing mistress, and in it stood him. I assumed he would just stand back and watch, but much to my surprise, he stepped in, with an embarrassed look on his face, to try to settle his wife down and convince her not to have me executed. Maybe he did have a heart after all. Or maybe he just wanted to save face. Regardless, instead of being burned at the stake, it was decided that I would be sent away to some remote forest. One of the previous Bollinger family heads had purchased a mansion there long ago, but had been abandoned because of the stories people told about it. They said a cursed witch dwelled in the house. She had returned to life after being executed, and now skulked about in the darkness. It was a perfect place to banish a sinner. And so, accused of adultery, I was in a carriage on my way out of the capital the next day. I hope my mum and sister are alright. The two of them will believe in me, even if no one else does. The wooden wheels turned, carrying me away to that cursed mansion. Just a silent coachman and his single sullied passenger. Looking out through the window, I could see the city wall slowly fading into the distance behind us. I doubted I would ever set foot in this land again, ever cross the Grand Pont again. It was a saddening reality, but at the same time I felt a surge of relief. I had finally escaped from that house. I had finally escaped from that man. The sense of freedom slightly lessened the weight of everything else I was feeling. A good while after we left the capital, the coachman handed me a letter. On the sheet of parchment was a rather startling revelation. There was someone else already living at the house where I was to reside. The Bollingers' youngest child. But the letter didn't say why he had been sent to the cursed mansion, only that he was there. Beyond that, the letter only made a single request, that I look after him and not ask any questions. So I'm not just being sent off to the middle of nowhere. I still have to work. I'll look after whoever's at the mansion, and they'll do the same for my family. I don't have much say in the matter either, I suppose. The carriage rattled and shook as it traversed the stony path, and bouncing around inside it, I resolved to take back my life. The peace I had once known, the cheerfulness I had lost, and to do so I would forget. Lock away my memories, bury every terrible thing that had happened to me. Oh, it all makes sense, and I feel bad now. Cast aside those memories and find my smile once more. I have no idea who I'm going to find there, but they couldn't possibly do anything worse to me. I'll greet them with a smile, and do my best to build up a decent relationship with them. I figured, since both of us had been banished to the same cursed mansion, there would probably be other things we had in common, and so I'd forget it all, and get my life back, get my smile back. And that was everything that led up to me arriving at the mansion. All the wounds I never wanted to open again. I didn't want to think about that. I've been trying so hard to forget about it. I wanted to forget all about it. So why? Why did you have to make me remember? All I did was believe that we could make things work. But why? How could you? God, I can't take it anymore. Once the memories had broken free, they all flooded back with perfect clarity. Exactly how he ran his hands across me. Exactly where he hit me. Where he cut me. Like I was going through it again this very moment. The rain was cooling me down on the outside, but so much nauseating heat had built up in my gut, I vomited all over the ground. I threw up and threw up and threw up until there was nothing left but bile. And when I had nothing left to expel, the strength evacuated from my knees and I collapsed. I didn't know if everything was blurry because of the rain or because my eyes had decided they were done looking at anything. The whole world twisted before me. Michelle's no different. My attempts to get close to him, to always keep a smile on, it was all a waste. The look in his eyes was terrifying, like he didn't believe in anything at all, so he probably wouldn't have believed me if I had told him the truth. If he's convinced I have an ulterior motive, there's probably no changing his mind. They were... It was right. I had a lot of things in common. Such a cold rain. If I lie down here and go to sleep, I wonder if all the warmth will eventually drain from my body, and then I'll decompose and become part of the earth. You know, that might actually be nice. I'd like that. I always thought I didn't want to die. I wanted to go back to the way things were, but who cares anymore? I did my best after all, and that still got me nowhere. Cheerful Giselle was all just a farce. And when I'm dead, all my worry for my mum and sister will fade away with me. Oh God, I doubt you have a place for me on high. I am, after all, an unclean woman. I've given up on living altogether, but even if I can't get into heaven, that's okay. I want release. The rain pitter-pattered down through the leaves overhead, chilling my skin. The cold spread through my flesh and into my bones, my heart and lungs and stomach, freezing me like a block of ice. My consciousness drifted away from me. The world slipped through my fingers. More than fear, I felt relief. Utter black. And that, I was sure, was the end of me. Oof. And that, I was sure, was the end of me. I am, even now, putting her through a harrowing experience. Digging up the memories she locked away, the past she wanted to pretend never happened, and laying it all out before her once more. But I must get her back to who she once was, even if it means forcing her to endure this. Oh man, now I feel fucking really bad. She must remember everything. Because I need to know. Why did she become the maid? And what secrets does this house hold? You're... Michelle. Yes. My name is Michelle. I am not the white-haired girl. The person you were searching for. Wait, I wonder if Michelle is the white-haired girl now that I think about it. Like, he had red eyes and the hair, and there's a picture of this woman, and there was talk of... So his mother had said that she had lost her daughter. And I wonder if that was meant to be Michelle. The person you were searching for was a man who once hurt you deeply. Me. Why? What was her why referring to? Why I hurt her? Or why I'm here? Or perhaps why I didn't show up until now? Not having an answer for her, I clenched her cold hands in mine. I wonder, were her hands as cold that night too? There's still more we need to see though, and it's still too soon for me to apologize. When she's gotten everything back, only then can I. Once she's reclaimed herself, that is when I must tell her. Now, let us return to our past. Our story has only just begun. No matter what we thought or what we desired, no matter what we lost or how much pain we suffered, we must not shut this door. Ooh. Perfect darkness embraces us once more. I can see nothing, not even the woman beside me. But I shall not let go of her hand. I do not want her to slip away from me. I do not want to lose her. Uh, what? Stay with me. Are you alright? Ah. Oh, thank goodness. You're awake. How's your head? Can you see me? What? You had me scared silly there. Where the hell are we? I thought I might have lost you for good. Really glad you're alive. But where am I? And who is this man? What was I doing? Who is this person? You feeling up for any food? I can whip up some porridge for you right quick. Ah, I was in the forest. It was raining. Before that, I was at the mansion. I feel sick, like there's still something in my stomach. No, thank you. I don't want anything. You really should have something. You need to keep up your energy, unless you want to conk out again in an hour. Sounds good to me. I'd rather never wake up at all. You're not in the highest of spirits either, it seems. All the more reason to get something warm in you. Please, have something. I've got some milk on the fire. I bet you can handle a cup of that. You start losing all hope once the cold gets that deep in you, it reaches down to your core. Take me at my word, please, just one sip. You'll feel like a whole new gal. A heart-wrenchingly pleasant aroma wafted up with the steam from within the wooden cup. Succumbing to the sweet smell, I lifted the cup to my lips for just one sip, and the warmth that spread through me brought tears to my eyes. Perhaps there really was kindness in the world. Please don't end up being a bad thing. A ripple spread across the surface of the milk. I heard a gentle sigh come from the man beside me, after which he said with a smile, "You should take it easy for the day." I had lost the willpower to think about anything. I didn't care what had happened to me or why I was here, who he was, or even where this was. I spent the whole day in bed, just watching the sun slowly slide across the wooden floor. I felt like I was somewhere far, far away. At times I felt like a lost child, and at times like a sickly old woman on her deathbed. Watching the sun travel gave me a renewed awareness of the passage of time, and the fact that each moment that went by was another moment I was alive. I realised then that it had been a while since I had gotten more than a brief glimpse at any sunlight. It almost surprised me how colourful the world seemed beneath the sun's light, something I didn't get much of in the dark mansion. Only after losing something do you realise how much you need it. So true. Warm milk, the light shining through the window, and a bed that smelled like springtime. Sounds like heaven, to be fair. With those three things, my heart slowly began to defrost, and I started to gain the willpower to stand on my own 2 feet. Thank you for everything. You sure you're in any shape to be on your feet? Yes, I'm fine. I'm not hurt. You looked pretty beat up to me. But you look a lot better now, and you're talking a lot more clearly than before. You've been very generous, despite having never met me before, and for that you have my deepest gratitude. Without your help, I would no longer be in this world. I don't deserve your thanks. You are alive now because God's guidance made it so. Oh? God. I came across you early this morning as I was heading into the forest to hunt. Imagine my surprise seeing a young lady like you on the ground in my path. What were you doing in the forest? You don't have to tell me if you'd rather not. Everyone's got their own share of personal problems. You're not going to demand I talk? I have no reason to force you to do anything. You look like you'd been to hell and back. What? I could tell just looking at you. Now then, do you have somewhere you can go? Somewhere to go? Of course I don't. Can't go back to the capital or the mansion. If not, then why don't you stay here? Here? Sure, it's a small village. We're self-sufficient and we all help each other out. No tax-hungry lords know we built this place up either, so we keep everything we make. We're pretty remote as a result, and the harvest isn't fantastic, but I'm sure you'll find it comfortable here. The rest of the villagers will be glad to have you. What do you say? Sorry, Mum. What I'm about to do might make the rest of the family's lives more difficult, but I don't want to have to feel any more pain. If I really wouldn't be inconvenient to you, if it's really okay, then yes, I would like to stay here. That's great to hear. I was loath to send you back out there in your current condition. I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? The name's Amity, just one lowly villager of many. I'm Giselle. Giselle? That's a beautiful name. If I'm not mistaken, there should be a vacant house. What? Clean it up and you can call it home. This place is awesome. I couldn't possibly ask for that. I doubt others would like it if I just took a house for myself. That shouldn't be an issue. I'm the village's representative, more or less. Representative? Like the chief? Only in name, though. As I mentioned, we're not on any lord's maps, so I don't have much representing to do. The only reason I ended up in charge is because I'm a bit more educated than anyone else. It was a long time ago, but I understudied with a priest. Because of that, I'm familiar with the Bible's teachings. So rather than a chief, the people of the village look at me more like a priest. Wouldn't be much fun if the church found out about that. They're liable to think I'm acting unordained. Then you believe in God? That's quite the question. Of course God exists. He's always watching over us. That's why you survived, because he protected you. I understand that your faith can waver when you're going through times of tribulation. Those are the times when it's most important you keep sight of who you are. Right. Now, you get some rest. Tomorrow I'll show you around the village. Thank you. I truly mean it. I really sincerely appreciate everything. Don't mention it, Giselle. This is your village now too, so you don't need to act like a stranger anymore. Okay. So he's Amity. He seems like a nice man. Maybe here I can live in peace. It'll be alright, I'm sure. Yeah. I was silly enough to believe my life would be perfect, but I had found a tiny fragment of my lost hope. While I had once been ready to give up on absolutely everything, I was starting to feel like Wait, what was it you said? I wasn't silly enough to believe my life would be perfect, right, okay. While I had once been ready to give up on absolutely everything, I was starting to feel like I might be able to smile again, eventually. Like I might be able to get back on my feet. And in order to do that, I had to cast aside my past once more. Forget everything that had happened at the Bollinger estate and everything that had happened at that mansion. Forget about Michelle. There was one niggling curiosity, though, that I couldn't shake something he had said before I left. Look at that face. My very existence threatens to tear down that house. The cursed youngest son of the Bollinger family. Michelle, who made a pact with the devil, who is supposed to be dead but is very much alive. What had he meant by that? Why would people think he was dead? No, I don't care about Michelle one bit. Forget it. Forget everything. The house was, as it had always been, wrapped in a thick silence. Giselle's shadow, which had been lurking in the halls for about a month, was nowhere to be found. She hadn't come back since running off that day. Yeah, no surprise, man. My secret was still safe. Her efforts had, in the end, all been for naught. Back to the way thank God, what an arsehole. Back to the way things were. But despite my mind telling me that it was for the best, I felt a kind of guilt seething in the back of my chest. Rightly so, you ass. and any attempts to figure out why only made me feel worse. But the look on her face then. Let me think about this. They thought he was dead. There's pictures of women that look like him, where he has red eyes. He had red eyes in that picture. I don't know if that was just for show, or he actually has red. No, if he's made a pact with the devil, he must have red eyes. Pale skin, white hair, and red eyes. Maybe that's why they say that he's cursed and made a pact with the devil. But then there's this talk of a woman. And his mother mentioned that her daughter went missing. And his name can be construed for a woman's name as well. Could that be it? Giselle did say that his voice is neither too high or too low. It just kind of sits in the middle. Maybe I've given him too low a voice. But please, hear me out. I didn't know anything about you. I wasn't sniffing around or trying to bring you harm in any way. Was that really her just putting on an act because I revealed her scheming? She was screaming though, and she looked genuinely terrified when she knocked my hand away. I'm not falling for anything. I feel like I know that frenzied panic. Something doesn't add up. Be quiet. Silence, please. Wait, who's he talking to? My head was pounding beyond belief. I couldn't stand anything. This world, the creature I was, the witches whispering, the creature I was. The witches whispering. The archangel looking down upon me seemed to be cackling from somewhere far out of reach. So, for whatever it was worth, to escape from his gaze. I once again drew the drapes over the stained glass window. What? It's something new. Hey, where are you from? You gonna be here long? Are you... We hardly ever get visitors here, so they're downright awestruck by you. You'll be getting a lot of attention for a little, but please don't let it get to you. No, that's just fine. I'll do my best to get along with everyone. Haha, you've got a spark in you that wasn't there yesterday. Anything in particular that cheered you up? In particular? Once I decided I was going to stay here, I just sort of started feeling better about things. And I figured I couldn't stay gloomy forever. I see. Glad to hear it. And it's all thanks to you, Amity. Keep thanking me like that and my cheeks might get struck red. In any event, I said I'd show you around yesterday, so how about we do that? Lead the way. That said, we're a modest little village of about 100. Everyone knows everyone. For that size, it looks pretty big to me. Amity taking the lead, we walked through the village, passing by crop fields and milk cows, presumably shared among the villagers. Houses were scattered across an area that seemed far too large for only 100 people. Actually, getting a better look at them, the buildings were dilapidated, looking more like ruins and residences. Once upon a time, this was a city rather than a village. When your ancestors lived here? Oh no, we were drifters fortunate enough to come across some decent looking land, so we stuck around. How'd you know what it was like before then? There were a few stone tablets left behind, and based on what we were able to extract from their texts, this area used to be a large city with a booming economy rivaling that of the capital. There weren't hundreds, but thousands of people bustling about. Merchants from afar came in droves. It was much like how the capital is now. Actually, this area was more open to foreigners. People of all different races speaking as many different languages. It was evidently quite the sight and sound. I had no idea there was a city here. That's what happens when a place is wiped from history. I couldn't tell you how reliable the tablets are, but if you take them at their word, the city lost everything in just a single week. What? People, crops, livestock, all dead. Maybe it was a natural disaster, a famine, a plague. I can't say for sure. This is what the tablet said, though. Oh, my days. Of course. We have been cursed by the witch. Cursed by the witch? Look over there, you see that river? There used to be a magnificent bridge across it, but there's hardly anything left of it. If you continue along the path beyond the fallen bridge, there's a forest. That's where I found you. The deepest parts of the forest are so dense you can't see anything but tree trunks and leaves. It's an eerie place wrapped in a cloud of darkness. If you make it through that, there's a mansion, which is said to be cursed. The witch who supposedly destroyed this city lives in the house deep in that forest. She's been there for years and years and years, and she casts her curse on anyone who goes near it. The city was so large that the mansion was actually in its borders. My guess is the bridge was built to mark the road leading to it. Now, as you can see, the bridge is gone and the houses still standing are practically in ruins. But the mansion alone looks just as it did back then. Oh, you can see the mansion. Is that the mansion in the distance? The witch living in the mansion goes by the name Morgana. According to the records, someone by that same name was executed in this area for witchcraft, and even in death she continues to bear her grudge against mankind. Who knows how much of it is true though? Truth or fiction, the story has taken roots in this region. The city's history may be lost, but the legend of the witch continues to be told. People have a tendency to keep stories alive that scare them. Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. No, I'm fine. You're best staying away from the mansion in the forest at any rate. There's no saying what might happen if curiosity gets the better of you. Better safe than sorry if you ask me. Aside from the mansion, this is as peaceful a village as you'll find. I don't know where you came from, but I'm glad you didn't end up wandering up there. I know all about the mansion and who lives there. I was there after all. With Michelle for a full month, but I don't remember any cursed witch, just a man with a bone-chilling glare. Maybe the rumours about a witch living there were spread by him, or perhaps even his family. I could see them doing that, but none of that matters to me anymore. I'm never going anywhere near that house again. The witch's curse, Michelle, they're nothing to me. Wait, how is this, why would she ever want to see this guy again? With nowhere else to go, I ended up in this small village. There was no denying that there was very little to speak of here, but I found peace in that nothingness. I couldn't have been more blessed that such a kind man had found me and welcomed me into his village. The village ran entirely on its own crops and livestock. They had no currency, merely bartered amongst themselves. Coming from a merchant's family, everything felt so new. I had never ploughed a large plot of land, milked a cow, or used a loom before. At first I wasn't sure what to think, being such a departure from my lifestyle in the capital, but over time I grew more comfortable with my new life, and the people of the village started thinking of me as one of them. Come on Giselle, come play with us. We're playing hide and seek today. Can't, sorry, I'm spinning yarn. You can do that later. Come on, play with us. Stop that, don't pull on my skirt. I feel like this is going to end badly at some point. Oh, alright, you win. When I'm done with this, I'll join you. And no ditching, we'll be down at the square, okay? Got it. See you there. Haha, the kids have taken quite a liking to you. Amity. You think so? They've been incredibly lively since you arrived. Children are more sensitive than adults. Sensitive? They're very perceptive of how others are feeling. If you begrudgingly play along, they'll pick up on that quickly. You like children, and that's a wonderful thing. There's not a good woman in the world who dislikes children. Why, thank you. I don't think it's so much that I like them, as I'm kind of like a big kid myself. I generally enjoy hide and seek. but that's not going to earn me any points. I like kids too. Watching them, it gives me faith that this world has a bright future. A bright future? I never looked at them that way. They seem to like you quite a bit too, Amity. Haha, thanks. Though I'd rather give my affection to my own kids. Oh, you have children? Oh, heavens no, I thought that was obvious enough. I'm talking about the future. See, but knowing you, Amity, I'm sure you'll find someone right for you and have kids of your own in no time. It's not that easy, sadly. Even in such a small village, there are no ladies who would take interest in me. You don't give yourself enough credit. I'm fully confident you'll find someone soon enough. Do you really think so? Absolutely. Well, gotta give him credit, just comes out with it. Then perhaps you could be that person. What? Pardon? I won't pressure you into it, of course, but I think it would be marvellous to have you in my life in a bigger way. But it's a little soon for me to think about settling down like that. It's pretty sudden, I admit. Take all the time you need to consider it. Alright, I have to go play with the kids now. Have fun. Oof, that came out of nowhere. I wonder if he really meant it. I'm pretty sure he did. Amity is a nice fellow, and I'm sure living here would be wonderful, but I can't help feeling something isn't right here. Oh. I can't help feeling something isn't right here. Why? Why am I thinking about him now of all times? That man has no redeemable qualities, not one. Yeah, why? Why are you thinking about Michelle? Forget him, he's an ass. As it turned out, Amity was serious about his proposition. I brought it up every time we ran into each other. Unable to give him an answer, I found myself constantly apologising to him. Soon, winter started giving way to spring. On a day when the air still had a brisk winter bite and budding seedlings battled to break through the earth, the seams holding the village together began to come loose. What? Huh? That day, the village men were gathered in the square talking. They all had stern looks on their faces. It was clear that something had happened. I obviously couldn't stick my head in, so I waited until they were done and caught Amity. While it was rather awkward, I was still more comfortable asking him for information than anyone else. Actually, with a dejected look on his face, he started explaining. A lord found out about this village. What? And he said he's going to place this land under his rule. Meaning he'll start collecting taxes. Wait, he can just do that? In addition, he's also demanding we pay 5 years' worth of back taxes for our unauthorised use of the land. What? That's ridiculous. Yes, it most certainly is. We obviously don't have the means to pay 5 years' taxes. There's no reason for him to take over this village at all. We're completely isolated from the surrounding area, after all. But if we resist, he could send soldiers. It doesn't matter how absurd his claim to the village is, we have no choice but to comply. That's terrible. What are we going to do then? We're going to do as the Lord demands. The 5 years' taxes will have to be paid in installments. Some of the men suggested we abandon the land and find somewhere else, but it would take time to cultivate the land and plant new crops. It's no trivial task. We'll just have to make do with these changes. We'll use more of the land to grow and try to be more efficient. Oof. Will you help in the fields? Of course. The village is my home now too. Thank you, Giselle. It will be difficult, but if we all pitch in, I'm sure we can get through this. I thought the same thing. If we all work together, we could make it through this rough patch. But the collection of taxes brought more than just a burden for everyone to share. It brought emotional strain and conflict to the village too. Your family has more hands to work the fields. I have a sickly child. You expect him to work any harder than he is? I know you're hiding grain in your cellar. You have more than us. Let us keep a little grain. You have more. No, you have more. You both have more than us. When their comfortable lives fell under attack, the villagers' top priority became their own property. The cooperation was only temporary, and before long everyone became a threat. The negative energy only built on itself, its growth accelerating like a boulder rolling down a hill. And it wasn't long before their sights fell on me, the outsider. Uh-oh. Come on, get moving. Ow, stop that. Why are you doing this? I'll stop once you've told us everything. Told you every what? One morning, a man dragged me from my house and took me to the square. What the fuck? There, the entire rest of the village was gathered, all eyes on me. What? What's this about? Oh, don't play stupid. We all know it was you. What was me? The thief. Oh, Amity. Amity? From the crowd appeared someone I knew quite well, the ever-affable village representative, the man who had saved my life. But in his eyes now, I thought you were better than that, was contempt, anger, scorn. So many different shades of negativity. I recognised what I was in his glare immediately, as someone who had been subjected to those looks before. But why? For what reason was he looking at me like that? I couldn't make sense of what was happening, so I just stood there stupefied. There's been a rise in reports of people having things stolen lately. This village is too small to attract bandits though. Since the Lord Renowned demands we pay him taxes, even the smallest item lost can have a dramatic impact on a family's living conditions. What you've done is no joke. But wait, just a second. I haven't stolen anything. Why do you think I... You have been seen in the act. What? So long as there is testimony against you, your guilt is assured. What? But who say they saw me? I swear I didn't do anything. They're obviously lying. You're the one who's lying. You've been playing us for fools this whole time. Everything was fine until you showed up. We managed not to get found until you showed up. No, that's not my fault. Giselle. Apologise to the village and return what you've taken. What the fuck is... Amity, don't you believe me? There were multiple witnesses. Several different people saw you stealing. I've known these people long enough to be family, and I trust them like family too. They're not liars. My arse. But no, they're framing me. I didn't steal anything, I swear. Framing you? Now you want to put this on us, woman? Unbelievable. Have you forgotten we welcomed you into our village? Amity, please believe me. You of all people should believe me. You've been avoiding me of late, haven't you? But what? Because you had something to hide, correct? No, what other reason could you have to avoid me? But why? How can you say these things? Why won't he believe me? Now, return the things you've stolen. I can't. I never stole anything. How am I supposed to return something I don't have? I see. So you've already moved the stolen goods. She said she doesn't have them anymore, folks. How should we deal with this? Rough her up till she talks. Yeah, she's not getting off that easy. Give us back our property. But why is this happening to me? The harsh new rulership has driven these people mad. I need to get away from this village quick. Restrain her. No, get your hands off me. Have you forgotten everything we've done for you? All that matters is that you don't have to suffer. Is that it? I didn't do anything. Take her to my house. We'll make her tell us everything. No, stop. You've all gone mad. Please, come to your senses. Ooh, I don't like where this is going. With men on all four sides of me, I was dragged into Amity's house. He sat coolly in a chair and they shoved me to my knees before him. I'll ask you this one more time, Giselle. Where did you put the things you stole? And I'll keep giving you the same answer. I didn't take anything from anyone. Please believe me. Do you swear with God as your witness? I do. I swear with all my heart. You don't actually believe me, do you, Amity? She's not only sold us out to Lord, she's now threatening to make our lives downright impossible. Again, that's just a coincidence. Listen to me, Amity. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the woman hath committed 3 sins. She has lied, she has stolen, and she has betrayed her fellow man. But why are you doing this, Amity? You are such a good man. I am deeply disappointed in you, Giselle. As much as I don't want to do this, I have to get the truth from you. Amity? Of course, why didn't I see it? I'm still just an outsider to them. Why would he believe a stranger's word over the word of the village? His family? The water. What? A man set a wooden well bucket on the floor in front of me. In it wasn't clean water from the well though, but grimy, murky wastewater. I reflexively turned my head from the stench, but a man behind me grabbed me by the hair. Jeez. And before I had a chance to realise what was happening, the world around me went brown. Oh, fuck. Ah! I struggled with all my might to break free, but my arms were tied behind my back and I didn't have the strength to overpower the man holding my head down. Reflexively gasping for air, a stream of filthy water poured into my mouth. Pull her out. We get nothing if she dies. Put her back in, and keep at it until she decides she's ready to talk. No. How unsightly. And to think I ever considered marrying this woman. Stop. We can stop whenever you want, Giselle. You just have to tell us the truth. Please. Stop! I was given no time to rest. My head shoved into the bucket, then pulled out just long enough for me to steal a breath before going back in, over and over again. Not a person in that room objected to the abuse I was receiving. I had prayed for a good harvest with these people. They had taught me how to use a loom, something I'd never touched before. We had laughed together, lived together. They were normal people. Perfectly ordinary, kind, helpful, friendly people. Not at all cruel or inhumane. But now, they burned with a frenzy that overshadowed all my memories of them. And every gargle, gasp and grunt they got from me fueled that fire. Dozens of eyes laced with madness stared down upon me, rejoicing at my suffering. My consciousness was slipping away from me. I thought I could hear laughing and chattering, but it all passed through my ears as mere noise, nothing I could make sense of. Right. Stay with me. Amity. Oh, thank goodness, you're awake. Wait, what was I just doing? Ah, right, I was in the forest on the verge of death and then Amity found me in. We almost lost valuable manpower there. We were just discussing what to do about you, Giselle, and we decided to make you village property. No, he didn't save me. If you agree to work for us, we'll put this whole nasty mess behind us. You may be worthless in the fields and terrible with a loom, but there's plenty you can help with. But what are you going to make me do? You like to get your hands dirty? And considering I found you half dead in the forest, I doubt the rest of you is any cleaner. Amity? It seems we've come to an agreement. I'll keep watch over her starting today, to make sure she stays in line and doesn't steal anything else. Dirty stays in line? The way they're looking at me. They didn't have to spell it out. No. Anything but that. Please, have mercy. If you're begging for mercy, that means you know you've done something wrong. Let's see, there is one way, Giselle. What? Give back what you stole, naturally. But if you're going to insist that's not possible, then bring us something of equal value. And if you can't do that, then your life belongs to the village. The men were cackling. They knew I couldn't do it, and they were enjoying watching me squirm. Take your pick, Giselle. Something of equal value? If I can get that, then you'll set me free? In that moment, a little bit of darkness bubbled up in my heart. Something maleficent whispered in my ear. If you are in need of money, help yourself to some of the furniture. There's a village not far from here. Trade it for food, then make your way to a larger town. I think I know where you can get something worth some money. The mansion in the forest has some fairly valuable furniture in it. Oh, don't tell them that. Oh god, when did I become... You can steal some of that to sell for good money. Such a despicable woman. You mean the cursed mansion? You expect us to go there? Are you out of your mind? Anyone who goes near that house is killed by the witch's curse. There is no witch living there. There is no curse. Giselle, what do you know about that mansion? Oh, don't tell them this. I lived there for a while. Well, for a month. You what? The son of a noble lives there. He's human, and he's alone. A noble? What's a noble boy doing this far from the city? I presume he was banished there. I was sent to the mansion from the capital to act as his servant. There was plenty of value in the house. Shelves lined with books. There should be more than enough to pay the Lord's 5 years' worth of taxes. Is what you're saying true? I would not lie. As bewilderment spread through Amity's house, I was unable to look at anything but the floor. I couldn't stop trembling. To protect myself, I had sold out Michelle. You swear there's just a single man living in that house? Yes, it's only him. Alright. If it turns out you're lying, you'll pay. Okay, everyone, you heard her. Tell all the young men to get ready. We're going up to the mansion in the forest. And just to be safe, make sure everyone brings something they can use as a weapon. And you, Giselle, you're coming with us. You'll be leading the way. Noof. Listen to me. Don't think about trying to run. Right. Oh, this is bad. Right. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I think we'll leave it there for now. Switch to my avatar face. My oh my. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad. I don't know. This is gonna get worse, isn't it? This is going to... I thought what had happened to her was bad enough, but like... And I knew the village was gonna fucking turn at some point because it was too good to be true, but not like that. Amity can get to fuck. But anyway. Oh, this is gonna be tough, isn't it? This is gonna be tough. Oh my dear. I'm scared to see where this goes from here, but we'll leave it there for now. This is the house in Fata Morgana. I am Ashmanix, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye bye.